nation. Welcome to the Cage Nation. No one can drop us, no one can stop us. We are the warriors, no one can top us, no one can rock us. We are the warriors, no one can drop us, no one can stop us. We are the warriors, no one can top us, no one can rock us. We are the warriors.
Someone getting kicked in the head's always funny. It is. I mean, it was an accident. I hope everyone's okay, but come on.
Surprised you didn't play any Dean Martin underneath that. Ain't that a kick in the head?
How about it? The slow-mo I did on the second one, that was just insult to injury.
You bastard.
How about it? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cage Nation TV. Of course, this is episode 27. Take 2 of episode 27 because we filmed episode 27.
We need not go into that.
Technology's fantastic till it decides to stop working.
Yeah. Well, we're on the air now. Drew Shannon, Albert Cameron.
Your elected official, the Prime Minister of Soul.
Ooh, I like that.
It's the soul patch.
Is that the soul patch?
That's the soul patch.
Well, it's addition to the goatee. So if I shave the goatee, then I would have an official soul patch.
Okay, but...
Which I have done before, but...
Okay.
I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Facial Hair TV.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we got a pretty good episode coming up. We're going to talk about vigilante justice and how we don't quite condone it, but hey, if MMA fighters are getting in there to stop crime, why not?
That's right. If it's good enough for Batman, it's good enough for the world of MMA fighters, I guess.
Absolutely. We do like our Batman here on Cage Nation TV.
Yes.
Of course, then we got the Cameron Underground, Tito Ortiz, who's in the Newsreel today. He's going to be in the Cameron Underground today.
How did you really?
His very first no-holds-barred fight. And we got it right here on Cage Nation TV.
No, impressive.
Yes, very much so. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We got the newsreel coming up. We're going to pay some bills with the we're about to top mount, and then we're getting into the good part of it.
And by pay bills, he means we actually have no bills to pay. But hey, we've got friends that are hawking products. We'll be back. It's Cage Nation TV.
It's time for another edition of Cage Nation TV Newsreel, spanning the globe to bring you the latest news in MMA.
One of the biggest issues that's surrounding our sport is the use of TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy. Both sides of the TRT coin have gone on record with their approval or disapproval of the practice, and have been very vocal about it. For the UFC 169 bout, Frank Mir was granted exemption and use of TRT in his fight against Alistair Overeem by the New Jersey State Athletic Commission. This example of TRT use is exceptionally important because a win for either fighter could be a crucial step for getting back into the UFC heavyweight title hunt, and any perceived advantage may cause backlash. It hasn't been an easy year for former UFC light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz. Ortiz was originally slated to return at the first ever Bellator pay-per-view against Quinton Rampage Jackson, but those plans and the pay-per-view were sidelined when Ortiz got hurt. Since his fight with Rampage was nixed, Ortiz found himself in more trouble as he was involved in a car accident with DUI charges being pressed. On Friday night, January 24th, doctors cleared Ortiz to fight, and his contract with Bellator says that it has to be on a pay-per-view. With the last Bellator pay-per-view being derailed because of a reliance on Ortiz's appearance, it's hard to say what plans, if any, Bellator has for a pay-per-view for Ortiz to fight on. The trial for Ortiz's DUI charges has been continued, and so now the window for a return is a little more open. Former UFC middleweight, the Dean of Mean, Keith Jardine, stopped a would-be thief from stealing his mail. Jardine was in his New Mexico home, on the computer, when he noticed a car he didn't recognize, stopping in front of his home and taking his mail. Jardine took it upon himself to jump in his Bronco and chase the assailant. When Jardine was able to cut the thief off, the thief surrendered his mail and the police were called. When the robber gave his report, he said that he was picking up mail for a friend. The thief, with a lengthy criminal record, was found with other people's mail in his possession. Charges are still pending. Well, the UFC must really want to promote Madison Square Garden. News broke this past Thursday that the UFC is trying another attempt at using the legal system in trying to overturn the ban on mixed martial arts in the state. This is yet another step that the UFC has taken in order to get inside the Big Apple. New York is one of the few states holding on to the ban, which was established in 1997. Should UFC be victorious, Madison Square Garden is clearly one of the targets for the world's largest MMA promotion. The UFC would then be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with great moments in combat sports, including bouts featuring Muhammad Ali and Bruno Sammartino.
Well, it appears the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation
has overturned the decision of the Jessica I-Sarah Kaufman fight from UFC 166 on October 19th. According to Sherdog.com, the department has changed the decision from a split decision to a no decision. Apparently, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation has decided that the result was not the appropriate one. They notified Sherdog.com of the change of result in an email Saturday morning. However, no verification and reason for the change have been made public. Kaufman immediately took to Twitter, saying, "A big morning. Texas Commission just overturned the result of me versus I to a no decision. Not my win, but not an undeserved loss either." Kaufman states that she had nothing to do with the TDLR's decision to change the result, and says she just found out on the internet like everyone else. She went on to say that she had no idea what went on with the Texas Commission, as she didn't file a single thing, saying that it was the right decision, but not her doing at all. Jessica I took the news in stride, stating on Twitter, "My goodness, never a dull moment in the Evil Eye's life. Thanks for the support. This will be sorted out in due time. Still have a fight to win." Kaufman doesn't currently have her next bout scheduled, but I is slated to face Alexis Davis at UFC 170 on February 22nd in Las Vegas. This has been another edition of the Cage Nation TV Newsreel. Stay tuned to Cage Nation TV on Facebook for the latest in MMA news.
Don't worry about remote signal blockage again. Introducing the Top Mount. This low-profile shelf is perfect for placing your cable box where you can use it. The easy-to-install lightweight shelf is designed to fit behind almost any flat-screen TV, with or without a wall mount. The Top Mount is perfect for easy access to cable boxes, game consoles, and DVD players. Don't have your signal blocked again. Order your Top Mount today at thetopmount.com.
Welcome back to Cage Nation TV. Albert Cameron, Drew Shannon, and this is episode 27.
Now, when we were doing the newsreel, of course, you guys saw that part of the newsreel about Keith Jardine chasing down the guy trying to steal his mail.
Right.
I mean, that's just postal fraud. That gets you in, like, a federal penitentiary.
Talk about going postal.
So, if you're going to steal mail, you should probably make sure you're not stealing mail from a dangerous human being.
Right.
Someone who gets paid to beat people up and bleed for a living.
Yeah, not a good idea.
No, stealing mail is wrong anyway, but if the Dean Amin's got to come after you, you kind of get what's coming to you.
Yeah.
So.
Special delivery.
Yeah. Well, a foot up an ass. But, but that got us thinking, is Keith Jardine the only one? And absolutely not. So we're going to highlight four MMA fighters who are really bringing class to the concept of an MMA fighter and showing that they are giving back to their communities by righting wrongs and stopping evildoers.
All right.
Now we'd like to...
Let me open up our book of the law. This is our law book.
I am the law.
I knew you'd say that. And by law book, I mean Albert's Kindle.
It's the script. Yep. But we want to warn you guys, we are not advocating vigilante justice by any means.
No.
We are not saying, hey, if you should go out and hurt people, that's just wrong. But in the sake of people helping people, we kind of want to recognize these guys for doing good for the communities.
Right. Now, keep in mind, as Albert did say, we don't encourage it, we don't condone it.
No.
But,
sometimes you just got to kick an ass or two.
Sometimes you do. And be advised, of course, that if you do try this at home, you may get your ass kicked. So just...
Don't do it at home?
Don't do it at home, out in the streets. It's best just to...
Not do it.
Grab your cell phone, call 911, and let the cops get involved. But if you can help somebody out in any way whatsoever, and you have the means to do it, then...
So we got four guys.
I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. I'm not condoning it, yet I'm condoning it. I don't know. I'm just confused.
Be safe. Don't hurt anybody. But these four guys we're going to talk about are getting a special pat on the back from us.
All right. Let's do that.
Okay.
That works for me. All right. Joseph Lozito.
Joseph Lozito has a guy come up to him, and he tells Joseph Lozito, "You're going to die." Okay. Point blank.
Well, nice of him to let him know.
How about it? Now, the guy who was threatening him had already just, killed his mom and, an unrequited love before that.
Ooh.
Yeah, so he comes up to Joseph Lozito's like, "You're going to die." Joseph Lozito's like, "I train UFC, bro." And,
now, normally, that kind of comment would get your ass kicked, but...
And you deserve it.
Yeah.
I can't say he actually said, "I train UFC, bro."
I doubt he said that.
No, because anyone who is actually fighting in MMA, I don't think has ever said, "I train UFC, bro."
Right.
Right. I'm going to get a t-shirt made that just says that. "I train UFC, bro."
They probably have them already.
You think? But with this face on it?
Moving on.
Okay, so Joseph Lozito, he disarms the assailant. I think with a single leg takedown.
Nice.
So now anyone could bum rush somebody and take them down with a double leg, but then you're on a ground position with someone who's got a knife.
Right.
A single leg, you're picking the leg up, you're sweeping the other leg out. You still have your vertical base, and Jackass with the knife is on the ground. Jackass with the knife loses. So Joseph Lozito stopped a man who was very, very dangerous, who unfortunately ended a bunch of lives. But Joseph Lozito also stopped that guy from ending any more, including his own.
Props
So
to
for that,
Lozito. That's right. I would clap too, but I've got the Book of Cage Nation TV law.
Yeah, I am the law.
Didn't we already? Wait, never mind.
Uh,
All right. Yurihi Rodriguez.
Okay, and he was the Yuri Rodriguez was the guy who was training in his gym, and he goes outside and he sees I believe it's the guy with the store owner. He sees the store owner unfortunately expires in the middle of this criminal transaction, but Yuri Rodriguez actually stops these assailant. They had a sledgehammer, and that's how they broke into the store. So like 4 guys coming at him with a sledgehammer, and he just starts He starts direct depositing ass kickings on 4 guys, one with a sledgehammer.
Nice.
So the one he gets a hold of, he actually holds him in a chokehold till the police arrive.
Cool.
Yeah. So 4 guys, sledgehammer, and it ends with Yuri Rodriguez holding the guy in a chokehold.
That is the epitome of badass.
Oh, absolutely. And he stopped those guys from robbing anybody else. I mean, that's one less family that's going to be, absolutely shattered.
The only thing he's missing is the big S on his chest and the cape.
Or the bat on his chest and the cowl and cape. That sounds like something Batman would do. It sounds like Batman would take 4 guys on and then hold the other one in a chokehold.
With a sledgehammer.
With a sledgehammer.
Yeah. Superman wouldn't need a sledgehammer.
Superman would certainly need the sledgehammer.
But, anyways.
Yeah, moving on.
Back to the book. A well-known vigilante.
We talk about superheroes, Drew. We're talking about Yuri Rodriguez being Superman or Batman, but now
Phoenix Jones.
Phoenix Jones, who actually went around touting himself as a superhero.
Right.
Wore the golden black mask.
I was saying he had the actual mask and suit.
Yeah. I think that guy's actually done time for being a vigilante.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually been taken into incarceration.
They've actually encouraged him not to do what he has done, just to notify the police. Which I think he actually does, doesn't he?
He does notify the police in the middle of an altercation.
Which is, commendable. That's the responsible thing to do.
But, criminals aren't like, oh, hey, that guy's calling the police. We should probably stop what we're doing and mend our ways.
Right.
Right.
So it's going to basically give them the finger, F you, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing.
Or they're going to come after him because that guy saw faces.
Right.
So then, Phoenix Jones starts laying out ass kickings.
And that's what superheroes do.
Yeah. Now, I think Phoenix Jones actually retired from being a superhero.
Right, that's what I understand.
Yeah. And that's... I mean, I guess he's getting back into fighting. But
which is probably good.
Well, it's fantastic. But Phoenix Jones was another one of those guys who put his bodily talents to work and better the lives of other people.
Actually, if he gets back into fighting, it's good for the criminals out there because that's one less ass kicking that they're going to get. So, all right. Last but not least, James McSweeney.
Yeah,
that's a fine Mexican name.
James McSweeney is out and about with his family, and they're at this. I believe they're at a store, and 2 guys start a scuffle. Mm. Now, I mean, it has all the makings of a St. Paddy's Day, not because James McSweeney may be of Irish origin, but coming from where we come from, we know the city streets of State College, in the middle of March, things happen.
I don't want to talk about St. Paddy's Day.
Okay. So 2 guys are faking a drunk altercation. The cashier comes from behind the register to say, hey, guys, knock it off. Well, then one of the guys in the altercation runs for the register because it's not being watched, takes a bunch of money out. He has a knife in the meantime, because that's what looked dangerous, because they're going to knife each other.
Right.
Well, James McSweeney has worked in security before. So he disarms the guy, puts him flat on the ground, and holds him there until police arrive.
Nice.
Yeah. So again, his kids have to think he is practically a superhero.
You would think.
I mean, his kids watched not only him stop a fight, but an armed robbery, because that's exactly what it was.
Right.
And he probably saved the cashier a lot of grief. I mean, the trauma of being robbed is terrible. I mean, it keeps people up at night.
Sure.
And he comes out looking like a hero. Now, all 4 of those guys have just proven that MMA fighters are really kind-hearted, great people.
Exactly.
You know, and that we're all about being out there in our community. It's the same reason that Charlie Gathers had us all wear pink, you know, at CDMMA 8. Mm-hmm. It's the same reason that all of our fighter buddies are always donating their time towards anti-bullying causes. Like, you know, fighters fight, but they are also very, very kind-hearted people. They're highly educated. They are just salt of the earth kind of folks. And this kind of presentation is me telling the MMA community, I'm proud to associate with you guys. Like, we all look like class acts when we do that kind of thing.
Most definitely. And again, we do want to state that we do not condone vigilanteism or, you know, anything like that. However, if you have taken a self-defense course, if you have, you know, you have the experience and know-how to help someone in a situation, I mean, by all means, do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just be careful as you're doing it so, you know, you don't become the victim of some sort of heinous crime or even worse, you know.
So to all four of those guys, I mean, really, thank you guys for putting it out there. Before we go into break, I'm going to pick your brain about something. Now, I know that on 105.9 Quick Rock, you talked to Ryan Gruden from Central PA Mixed Martial Arts.
Yes,
and
this past Friday.
Yes. In the newsreel, we talked about Frank Mir being approved for TRT therapy for his fight against Alistair Overeem.
Which was this past Saturday.
Right. Now, knowing what you know, and as you've been learning about TRT, as we all have, what is your opinion on TRT?
Wow. I guess it depends on the individual. I mean, you know, if they do actually need the therapy to help them along, then by all means. There was a story that Ryan was actually telling me on 105.9 Quick Rock. It's weird how that happens. Bigfoot.
Antonio Silva.
Yes. He had, what was it, gigantism.
Yes, an issue with the pituitary gland.
Issue with the pituitary gland. There was a tumor on the pituitary gland that they had removed, so he had stopped growing. He actually needed the testosterone therapy because, and there's no real delicate way to put this. If he had not, he was literally developing. He was literally going to be developing breast milk. Yeah.
Wow.
So he needed the testosterone replacement therapy to kind of help curb that. But
okay.
You know, I believe that it is necessary. Now, does it give could it give a fighter an advantage? Yeah, quite possibly it could. But if it's something that is you need medically, and a doctor has approved it, then what else are you going to do?
Well, I think that's a real extreme case with Bigfoot Silva. I mean, because clearly there was a hormone problem in his body that needed to be corrected, and I think TRT is fantastic for that.
Right.
On the other side of that coin, I present Fallon Fox, the transgender fighter.
Okay.
Okay. She has to take estrogen therapy. Her body's naturally producing testosterone because of her male gender assignment at birth.
Right, of her original gender.
Right. But now she has to take estrogen therapy, and she can't just stop that. Like, the problem with Fallon Fox is people are saying, oh, she can just stop taking her estrogen, and all of a sudden she's hulking up because she's got all that testosterone. She's saying that, no, that's not the case, because if she stops taking it, she's going to do some serious damage to her body, including a severe onset of osteoporosis. Mm-hmm. So, the point I really wanted to make with the TRT, and all that kind of stuff is, there are certain fighters, I think, who may be jumping the gun on it. Like, sometimes, like, when I was a kid, like, I had attention problems.
Right.
Was it that I was a hyperactive child, or was it that I needed a handful of Ritalin thrown down my throat? Right. I think there's a lot of cases of that. I think Ritalin is a drug that a lot of folks do need. But I think sometimes we jump to the early conclusion, like, oh, he's a hyperactive kid.
Right. I will totally testify to that. I think we as a society tend to over-medicate when it's not necessary.
Right.
When it's, when it is necessary, fine.
Absolutely.
But I think we just use it as a, I don't know, what's the word I want to look for? I think we use the medication.
We're almost depending on it.
As a crutch.
Yeah.
A lot of times. I've seen kids that have, it's just, I wouldn't even deem them as hyperactive. They're kids, okay? They're wound 99% of the day. That's how kids are.
You remember what it was like when we were boys? I mean, like, I was bouncing off the walls.
Right. It wasn't... We didn't call it hyperactivity.
No, we called it lay off the Mountain Dew because you're amped up.
We didn't call it hyperactivity. We called it get your ass outside and play.
Right.
You know, and that's what we needed. We went outside, got physical activity. Nowadays, kids are sitting in front of the TV. They're playing video games. They're in front of the computer. They're watching YouTube show.
Nice.
They're playing video games. They don't get the activity that they need outside or in other things, and they're cooped up. And parents are wondering why Johnny's always so hyper, why he's very high strung. I know. Let's put him on Ritalin. Let's put him on Paxil. Let's put him on some sort of drug, Adderall. And 9 times out of 10, that's not the case.
There are certain biological. There are some children and adults who have a biological need for those chemicals.
Right.
Those are the folks who should be getting it. So
I know a kid personally who was on several medications at one time. He's grown up now. He's been weaned off, I think, about 99% of those meds. He may be on one, if that, but and it was, in my opinion, it was completely unnecessary.
So the point I was making with the ADHD drugs is, are fighters kind of jumping the gun with TRT? Like, they're feeling kind of sluggish, they're getting up there in age, they're not fighting the way they used to. Do they need TRT, or are they showing the actual sense of aging?
Okay, well, if they're showing the actual signs of aging, then yes, maybe they do need the TRT. I mean, that is always, something. If it's medically necessary for them to get the TRT, if their doctor says, hey, you need TRT, then by all means. If they're using it as an advantage in the fight game, then no, it's not necessary. It's something that should be investigated and something that should be looked at.
Let me propose this to you. In boxing, like Joe Frazier's time, Muhammad Ali, they didn't have TRT.
No.
If guys just got too old to fight, they stopped fighting.
Right.
So,
except for George Foreman, who just kept going, didn't really quit.
Okay. Now that proposes another question: Is TRT prolonging the careers of fighters whose career should be over by now?
That is a distinct possibility. Yeah. I mean, they've got all this testosterone coursing through their veins. They feel like the young man that they were in their 20s when they're actually in their 50s.
I mean, can those older bodies handle the testosterone of a 20-year-old?
You know what? I'm not a doctor. I can't really answer that question. But
right, and that's the point I'm making, is that we're so polar opposite on the course of TRT, but we don't take time to consider a case like Antonio Silva, who hormonally needed it.
Yeah.
There's just so much gray area that we could really just talk about it for months, and I don't think we'd ever come to...
Now, the UFC is looking into from what I understand, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is UFC's looking at investigating the TRT thing and just kind of doing away with it.
Well, there was a UFC before TRT, and I mean, there'll certainly be a UFC after TRT.
Right. That's like baseball.
Yeah, I mean, you remember the home run race? Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa.
I remember that very well.
And Mark McGwire was on creatine.
Yeah.
Creatine, obviously, creatine had some similar effects. They came up in a drug test to a steroid.
Right.
And I mean, that's a gray area. Like, I could go to GNC and buy creatine. So Mark McGwire is over the counter. I mean, it's not like he's going to some back alley and getting steroids.
Right.
Right.
That kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, was a substance that had an effect like a steroid, was that giving Mark McGwire an unfair advantage? We could sit here and argue for days.
We totally could.
We totally could. So, the reason I put you on the spot like that is because I know that Ryan Groom gave you all that great insight into TRT and all that kind of stuff, and I wanted to pick your brain on it. But also to demonstrate that there is no black and white on TRT, but that we shouldn't damn it or sing its praises until it's had like a long enough timeline, so we get an accurate idea as to what the effects are.
Right. Again, I mean, older gentlemen, that's the kind of thing they need to, I guess, but.
I mean,
younger guys who just want to, who are looking for an extra advantage, probably not the best thing.
I mean, I can't say that anyone that we know or we've seen fight has done it,
right.
But I think the temptation's there. Like, oh man, my doctor's going to prescribe me TRT. Like, am I back in a title hunt?
Yeah.
opportunity to abuse it there. Just like is the opportunity to abuse.
Oh, the opportunity, right? The opportunity to abuse something like that is always there. Anything in the medical field, if it's, something that is a help to the human body, there's always the chance of abusing. I mean, you can take a look at the things that are normally abused: prescription drugs, alcohol, tobacco, things of that nature.
Well, I mean, there was a time where opium was a prescribed relief for ailments.
Oh, those were the days. There was
Were you old enough to remember that?
Are we done here?
But it's not so much black and white. And thank you very much for engaging in that conversation. If you guys have an opinion on TRT, its use, its advantages, disadvantages, please leave it in the comment section, either on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. We'd love to know what you guys think.
Totally.
All right, we're gonna take a break, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get you some words from our friends at the.
I don't look spooky like this.
You're doing the Dark Lord Drucifer.
Yes.
We're gonna have some words from our friends Mike Edwards and the X-Men about the Pro Wrestling Rundown. We tell you about MMA. Probably the most.
They will tell you of pro wrestling.
And I guess CM Punk, who is a big fan of UFC and MMA, apparently some big things are going down. So, I mean, I'm sure they're going to cover that at length. So if you like professional wrestling, you're going to love our boys at the Pro Wrestling Rundown.
Don't even get me started on Punk.
Hello, MMA fans. Look, people, MMA fans. And we're wrestling guys on an MMA show. Holy moly. What's this world coming to? We want to take this time and thank Drew Shannon and Albert Cameron.
We do?
Yeah.
All right,
For allowing us a little bit of their time here on Cage Nation Television to promote the Pro Wrestling Rundown. Do I have to do all the talking here?
Come on, guys. Show us a little bit of love. We're showing you some love. We know that they're crossover fans, so catch us on our YouTube channel. What is it again, X?
YouTube.com/Pro Wrestling Rundown.
Hope to see you there.
And of course, TV's Mike Edwards. Actually, Internet's Mike Edwards.
YouTube's Mike Edwards?
Sure, why not? And the X-Man going to be bringing you very soon, I'm sure, more updates in the world of professional wrestling. In fact,
I heard a rumor, Drew.
I know what you're going to ask.
No. Is it true? Are you jumping ship?
I'm not jumping ship.
Are you, or are you not defecting to the Pro Wrestling Rundown?
I'm not defecting to the Pro Wrestling Rundown. However, I might be doing a guest spot, talking to...
Might be doing a guest spot.
Hey. I'm still Cage Nation TV, bro.
Damn right you are. We got t-shirts, Mike. Just saying.
Be nice.
Anyway.
X-Man was in a bit of a car accident. We do want to wish him well. It's been a few weeks, and he's had to step out of the Pro Wrestling Rundown, so they are possibly going to have me step in for a little bit, guest appearance or whatever, and I'm more than willing to do it. And I can't wait to kind of get the band back together from the old AON Rundown days, which would be pretty cool. So, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still going to be doing this. Don't worry.
I'm just saying, we're going to Gladiators of the Cage and Pinnacle in March. Like, Cass is good, but I mean, I can't do it without you, homie.
Dude, I'll be there.
Alrighty.
We've got MMA in March. Okay, we've got 2 MMA bouts in March that we're going to, and then I'm having you guys over for WrestleMania. So there, they got all bases covered, baby.
Which is being headlined by former MMA fighter Dave Bautista.
Yes. Well, we'll wait and see how that goes.
But anyway, so speaking of pro wrestling, WrestleMania, blah blah blah. Former TNA wrestler Tito Ortiz is in the Cameron Underground.
Good segue, because I didn't know how the hell we were going to get out of that.
Albert Cameron's always thinking. He's always got a plan. So I go digging, and when I titled the show The Cameron Underground, I wanted it to feel like I'm pulling out fights from like college tapes.
Right.
Like, you see pro football players, and you want to see their college tapes. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring you guys the college tapes of MMA. And that's where Underground really comes from it. Not a bunch of guys fighting in the backyard at a barbecue, like, fighting over whose baby mama, is gonna,
It's kind of like the Underground tapes that, you and your buddies would, pass around of
Before there was the internet, but we were watching fights out of Japan and Pancrase. We tape traded.
Exactly, and that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
So it's tape trading.
It's tape trading, only I'm doing all the hard work.
Right.
For you guys, because I love you.
Yeah. Now you need to get him. He's giving you tapes. I mean, that's part of trading.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. That's part of a trade. So I'm giving you Tito Ortiz. I want you guys to shoot me an email at cagenationtv@gmail.com. I want to see your underground tapes. I mean, because let's be honest, when it's all said and done, you guys are in the UFC, I want to be able to put that feather in my cap that, hey, Albert Cameron and Drew Shannon, we knew that guy way back when. We saw him fight before there ever was a Bruce Buffer calling your name from the red or blue corner. So, show us some love here.
That's right.
All righty, Drew Shannon, we're going to Tito Ortiz in the Cameron Underground.
Let's go underground, my friend. Put it in the record books. A win for Tito Ortiz.
Actually, that fight is so underground. I don't even know if that's on the record books.
It probably isn't.
Like when we talked to Dan Severn, he talked about does SureDog.com or Mixed Martial Arts do they cover those kind of fights? I mean, we don't know.
Right.
Dan Severn's first fight that was ever on SureDog.com was UFC 4. I mean, Dan Severn's been fighting years before that. So I mean, is it on the record books? Possibly. If not, hey, that's why we call it the Cameron Underground. In that post-fight interview, Tito Ortiz talked about I'm going to go to Japan, I'm going to fight in Pancrase, but then he ended up going to the UFC. So
and marrying Jenna Jameson.
Got to pick that scab, don't you? The man's hurting enough. He's got twin DUI charges. Like you don't need to remind him of Jenna Jameson.
Hey. I wanted to marry Jenna Jameson. I mean, come on. And now looking at knowing now
you dodged a bullet.
Knowing now what I didn't know then, yeah.
But Tito Ortiz.
Like I had the opportunity to marry Jenna Jameson. Really?
Tito Ortiz is always going to be in the footnote of MMA history because, I mean, he was a former UFC light heavyweight champion.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, he was one of those fighters that helped bring star power to MMA when they were in the dark ages.
Right.
I think it was Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock. I mean, the first guys headlining on ESPN because of a fight.
So we bust balls occasionally about Tito's past, whatever, but... it's done out of love, and we do respect the contributions that he has given to the world of mixed martial arts and to the UFC.
I'll do you one better, Tito. You want to come on Cage Nation TV? We'll make a spot for you right here, and we'll bust on Jenna together. You, me, and Drew.
Well,
I mean, he might bust it on us for talking about his ex-wife.
I don't want to get busted on by Tito Ortiz.
No.
I like my head exactly where it is.
Yeah, and Ken Shamrock's bodyguarding for 50 Cent now.
Well, yes, I remember that.
Yeah. Now, how hardcore? You're 50 Cent, okay? You want to get someone to bodyguard for you. Who do you call? Do you call Pennsylvania's most dangerous man? No. You call the Northwest most dangerous man? Child's play.
You call North America's most dangerous?
Absolutely not, baby. 50 Cent is going worldwide, so in order to protect 50 Cent, you have to get the world's most dangerous man.
Right. I think we were supposed to say that together, but you know what? It's fine.
The world's most dangerous man.
man.
We sounded good. We harmonized well together.
Okay.
Should probably fist bump on that. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Cage Nation TV. Of course.
You gotta blow that up. No, you had your shot.
Make sure you like us on Facebook. Facebook, I think, is where we put out the most news and kind of stuff. I mean,
Yeah, most definitely.
We do our best to cover it in the newsreel, but Facebook, I think, is probably the news outlet of choice.
And of course, we do have a website as well.
CageNationTV.com. You can read about all of us and big news stories from our area when we cover, like the Valley Fight League meltdown. We covered that all day on CageNationTV.com.
Exactly. We also have our Twitter account, which you can follow our tweets, especially when we're at live events. That's when we do most of the tweeting.
So when we're at Gladiators of the Cage for Garbrandt versus Mazada, or at Pinnacle FC watching Mark Jericho in the main event.
I cannot wait for the... seriously, can we just skip over February and get to March?
I got 20-1 that Punxsutawney Phil sees his shadow. 20-1.
Okay, if he sees his shadow, is that 6 more weeks?
Yes. Punxsutawney Phil is a lying sumbitch, and we need to get someone out there with a great recipe for like groundhog stew and just take him out.
By the way, if you realize the time of this taping, Punxsutawney Phil ain't seen his shadow yet, or hasn't. Maybe he's seen his shadow by now. I don't know.
Okay, well we're going. Today is January 30th that we're taping.
Hate to break down the fourth wall, kids.
It happens. I'm calling Punxsutawney Phil out. I'm saying he's a liar. 20-1, he sees a shadow.
Okay, well, I'm sure that we'll find out.
Yeah.
When we watch this.
Absolutely.
We'll go back. We'll go back to the tape. Once Phil sees his shadow or doesn't see his shadow at Gobbler's Knob, and by the way, whoever named that, I'm not even going to get into it because it just.
They're talking about turkeys.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
But anyway.
I don't want to see some turkey's knob. But anyway, we'll go back to the tape, and we will be like, Albert, you were saying. So, whether he's right or wrong. So.
I'm going to be right. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been Cage Nation TV. Of course, I'm your elected official, Albert Cameron. Beside me, as always, is the Prime Minister of Seoul, Drew Shannon. We'll see you guys next week.
Take care.
Let's go.